I am Joe Still. This is Mike White, and this is Build It Faster, the Build It Faster podcast. You might be thinking to yourselves, aren't those the guys from that famous pattern practice podcast? It is. Yeah,
Same guys.
well, we have a new podcast, and that one's done now. We actually had very somber faces with the final episode. I tried to get a little bit of sympathy clicks for that one. Almost no feedback, good or bad. And so, we're looking to do it right. We're looking to start off, starting it off right. And I thought it would be nice to have maybe a prompt-oriented approach to this, What are we doing on the first episode? I want to know questions like, what is this? What are we doing here? Who are we? And what happened to pattern practice? For again, we had 50 subscribers, 54 subscribers, all right? And we have to tell them where to find us.
How long were we doing it?
Like 3 years. Yeah, pattern practice was like 3 years.
That's incredible. I feel like I kind of want to answer those questions in reverse. I don't know.
Okay.
About
well,
you.
So what happened to pattern practice?
Well, as far as I could tell, you tell me if you have anything to add. I think SEO was a big reason to kill it because it was terrible SEO. And we talked about that a lot on the last episode of Pattern Practice if you want to hear more about that. And I think just really to my own, like I asked for this, right? And I'm glad, no regrets, but I think just a lack of focus and clear articulation of what our focus even was when we did have focus. Maybe it was an age of discovery in a lot of ways. And I love that we had this kind of unboundaried sort of approach. But I do think that in that 3 years, are you kidding me? I think I learned a little more about what boundaries might be healthy and might help us focus and get more out of it. So, a change felt like it was in order, not just for SEO, but also for, I think, identity and direction and focus and vision.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's episode was at like 100. We had to title Business Safari because that's what it turned into. It was like, what's up, dude? I don't know. Let's find out together what we're doing today.
Right.
We had poor Jordan came on and like tried to coach us, and we were like, I don't know. I want to be successful, and it's like that's not a coherent goal. So no, it was interesting. Yeah, a lot of it was SEO, but I felt a lot of aligning interest and a lot of clarity in the build it faster kind of branding shtick we were getting into, and just being able to be more deliberate about it. The fresh start makes me feel like, oh, if I do it right the first time, new pod, new me. Right. So I'll definitely be doing shorts and stuff this time around. The Riverside automation's gotten a lot better. They are doing all kinds of AI for me now. So that's actually pretty sweet. But so what happened to pattern practice? That one was just for practice. And now we get into the real pod. All right. And also you won't have to sift through children's craft programming to find us.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that gets into, who the F are we?
So, I mean, build it faster. The subject scope is like, working better, faster with people, all right? Not just how do you type faster, how do you demand that the AI build your product better and with no mistakes. That's going to be covered too. But we also bring the people side to it. I mean, we got really, really into process and not like abusive, scrum violence, but like actually working with people and figuring out how to make things flow, establishing communities, gelling. We were obsessed with that. And so that was something I still think we uniquely bring to a lot of contexts. Who am I? My name is Joe Still. I have been in system administration, infrastructure, support, and engineering for like 20 years. 20 years? Is that right? 20? Give it 15. We'll say 15. 15 professionally. Been messing with computers since I was like 15, but like, give me 20. And I've been programming just as long, though not, I've never been in FANG, right? Facebook, whatever, the acronym. But I've got a lot of experience just, tinkering. And then we went through our data center phase and we got to do all kinds of jobs because it was basically an unfocused startup. Like I learned everything about everything. It was great. People, process, programming, support. The whole job was, hey, we sold someone unlimited help and they're calling for you and you have to just fix it, whatever it is. I have touched probably like 2,000 websites that I did not write or build, and I had to like go discover what it was and how to work with people. And so I have a history of support, system administration, level 3, DevOps, infrastructure engineering, cloud engineer was a thing for a little while. And then I made a hard pivot when ChatGPT came out. Now I'm a staff AI engineer. So I put ChatGPT into websites now. And people love when you do that.
It is all
Mike,
the rage.
Mike, what are you bringing to the table? Who are you?
Yeah. I have worked with you for a very long time. And so it's fun how much of our experience overlaps in that way. It's like we're doing different stuff for the most part. And yet, we've been closely intertwined. Maybe I'll put that better when I talk about us. But for me, I started out as a ticket taker at MovieCo. If you want to take it all the way, I'm kidding. It started. Yeah,
fresh.
yeah, okay. Subway, eat fresh.
Sandwich
True,
artist.
true. Word. Okay, okay. That's great. I always knew you were an artist. And sometime along school or whatever, I started working with you at what was like my first tech job in hosting, and I was in tech support overnight with you, and I sucked at it, and I moved into client relations, and I think that kind of is what that is where our paths branched, is like right at the beginning. But like I said, ever together. I think from there it was client relations management, and then project management, product management, program management now. My current title is engineering program manager. And I think, yeah, it's a fun blend of both technical and human management experience. And when I was writing down who we are, I got kind of excited because, it's kind of impressive. It's kind of impressive. I didn't even think, it was like and you brought up Jordan Hirsch. I thought of him when I was writing because it was like when I talked to him one time, he was like, write down like a who the F am I? Like what's a who the F am I? And I kind of thought of it on those terms, and I was pretty impressed by who the F we are. I wrote down, I'm Mike and he's Joe, and we are builders. And we have over 3 decades of tech space management experience combined, spanning networking, infrastructure, software development, customer relations, AI, basically all of it, short of robotics, I guess.
That's the full stack right there. I have not done robotics.
Right.
I kind of want to, though. We'll see.
We've worked directly with hundreds of clients, ranging from mom bloggers to government and Fortune 500s. And I know you said like not FANG, as in it was like I hadn't achieved that step, but it's like the clients we have worked with are of that scale that we understand hyper enterprise management is what I think is valuable.
Yeah.
I understand, the development approach taken by a giant company and how that differs from an approach taken by, a crazy startup company.
We've definitely been exposed to the enterprise context, which is very different. Yeah. I'm working in a Fortune 500 right now, and it's gigantic, and I have to talk to like 5 different teams to get anything done, but I get stuff done, and that's what we bring to the table.
There you go. I wrote, we've built, maintained, and supported systems with millions of users that have raked in billions in revenue. That's pretty cool.
Okay.
And it's true. It is true. You add it all up. That is true. And we've learned how to do it fast and have fun doing it most of the time. And we're founding members of a community of tech professionals who share our obsession with ways of working. I think all those things together add up to a duo that's got a lot to share when it comes to building things and building them faster and building them with humans and for humans.
That was lovely. I did not prepare the we question. That's interesting because I thought of it individually, but it's the combination, right? And I want to keep on to at least answering each of these questions before I go off on whatever comes to mind. But it's the value of pairing, right? I might be very technical, you might be very capable in product, and that's not just our, exclusive capabilities, but like together, you do in fact get 30 years of that shared competence among those domains, because you speak up, I speak up, you remind me of this, I remind you of that, and that combination matters a lot. It's greater than the sum, for sure, in that context.
Yep. Yep. And so, okay. So what is this? I'm going to say more about it. What do you think?
You pull. I was unsure of the order, but I think you pulled this off. So what is
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Um, this is Build It Faster. It is the Build It Faster podcast, fasterpod.com. A lot of this branding makes way more sense now. It's so easy to say. We were very careful about that. This is taking 138 episodes over 3 years of attempting to podcast, which is not just recording. Like, you have to facilitate and try to explain to people what you're even doing, and all of that comes with, well, at least 138 lessons, okay, that we did not know at the beginning. And so we come prepared to try to put something together that people will use, that will make sense to like link them specifically to a resource when it comes up, because it was worth saying. And so I expect people to come to this to hear about some of the latest. Really, a lot of it, I think, is going to wind up being us trying to distill what we have found works, maybe even into an educational opportunity for people who are like, wow, I'm really vibing with this, and I would love to actually sit down and actually learn this approach, because that sounds fun. It's not even just like, I could get paid for that. It's like, ooh, that sounds kick-ass, and let's go. That's the kind of vibe I'm hoping we achieve here. Do you have any better or different articulations on what is this?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about it. I think we're going to teach people how to build faster. And why? I mean, I'd say like for the betterment of their professional lives and the empowerment of human creation. I'm like a human supremacist, and I am proud of what people have done with each other, to create like a pretty incredible world. And, I think we live in an era where a lot of that building is taking place in software. It's not just, physical grand architecture anymore. Not just that. It's also like grand software architecture. We're building incredible things in a new, exciting world. Sometimes scary, sure. But anyway, I think it's important that we do it in a good way, for good, for ourselves and for others. And I think that, at least that's part of the driver for me. And we'll do it, I think, by exposing anti-patterns for what they are, sharing strategies for implementing effective remedies. I think we'll also build stuff right in front of you, and sharing, how to build it faster. We want to build in front of you so that you can see how it's done. How does that look real time? And I also think like its predecessor, this show will continue to help us capture valuable insights along the way as well.
Well said. It'll be interesting too. I think you had alluded to, is the word that comes to mind, one of the pods you followed, of a couple of guys that podcasted their like company being built, and I think there's a couple double triple dips available to us where we can chit chat and be excited about process patterns, what we've learned. We're reading a book in book club every single week. We read a chapter, so like, if nothing else, I'll tell you what I read. I've got something to say. Practice of adaptive leadership, by the way. And we'll show you what we're building. Maybe you want to come use the stuff, or maybe you hate it, which I would love. Please tell me. So it's going to be interesting, kind of doing it in build a bit of a build in public. And every time you get Mike too excited, he's going to go off and just nail the description of a thing that's going to turn into a class we can probably sell you, in a formal capacity. You can always watch the pod, but you got to watch all the pod if you want to, if you want to get it for free. You got to watch the whole podcast. But we'll, have opportunities, I think, to distill down and package neatly with a holographic educational material that we can put together. And I'm sure you can pick some of this stuff up elsewhere, but the way in which we do it maybe it will end better for you than some other thing. I have had a lot of success with a lot of people really, really enjoying the way we approach things. And it's not even just, taking a coaching stance and asking questions rather than giving advice. Anyone could tell you that, but like, I don't know. We got a bunch of idiosyncratic, background that makes us ask things a certain way, And I think it's been effective and therefore worth sharing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that you touched on a really important point there too. It's not like we are guys who know a bunch of secrets that nobody else knows. I don't know if any like strategy we implement or any kind of like pattern that we repeat incessantly is something that we like made up on our own. Maybe we have a couple joke ones.
Probably a couple, honestly.
Got a couple joke ones.
Very few.
But again, in my opinion, kind of almost like unique in name only. Like there might be other ways of expressing kind of, in the books. They probably show up, I guess, is what I'm saying. And what I'm getting at here is like, it's not that the content, or it's not that, these lessons are necessarily like unique or that we have some kind of secret formula. That's really what I'm getting at, is that there's no like secret formula. It's not like, do this Mike and Joe's way. We've discovered the secret of getting things done. It's like we have explored lots of patterns, some that work, some that don't, some that get pushed and pushed and pushed and we know will never work. It's almost like a great big, like a great big joke. But it's the way in which I think we approach the things, like you said, and it goes back to, like I said before, not just do we like to build things fast and have fun doing it, but we also like to talk about how that happened and have fun doing it. Like I have a really good time just telling stories, it's like war stories or hunting stories, the fishing stories, it's like, it's these adventures that you get to kind of share. And there's always like a moral or a lesson, that you get to take away. And I think it's really easy to say, oh, don't plan your sprints, weeks in advance, and like to kind of just share that dogma. And yet it's never going to land or be effective unless you're able to tell a story about how planning your sprints in advance is hurting you right now. And it's funny because what you do is you tell them a story they already know because they're living it, right? So you kind of like tell this story and somebody feels themselves like plopped right into your story because they feel everything that you're saying when you're telling this story. And then, by the end of it, they're begging for an end that's a happy ending because they realize that they're living this kind of like horror story and they hope that there's some kind of happy ending for them. And that's when you can give them, some kind of remedy that just makes so much sense by the time you bring it up that they're dying to go try it. They didn't know that there was another option. And even if they heard the option 10 times, they didn't know a way, that they could implement it or a way that they could communicate it to other people. Because most of these problems you have to solve, you just said the name of our book, like most of these problems require change beyond just yourself. And you have to get others on board and you have to move other people in order to make something happen, in order to start building faster. And I think having a good narrative way of approaching that problem empowers you to go and do something about it because you're able to say, this is why, and I understand at a deeper level what matters.
Yeah, you can't just cheat to the end. You don't just get the like end of the game, bazooka or whatever for the final boss. I can't just hand that to you. It's not even just that that's cheating or unearned knowledge, which is its whole own topic that I think is worth getting into. But like, it's not going to be effective. Why? Why is this here? How did you get to this? And I think through story, for sure, we'll be able to, illuminate how we arrived at these conclusions. You'll, for example, dear listener, get to hear about the time, without naming names, of course, I found out that Mike was working on a project that had 500 work in progress issues. He had 500 issues that were, they're working on them. You guys, 500 issues. 500. There's like 6 of them. Working on 500 issues. I don't actually know how many people were on it. Don't try to deduce.
There were thousands in the backlog, so
preposterous. But even when I was trying to challenge Mike about this, I wasn't like do this. I was like let's think through this. This smells wrong, but you gotta wait for that episode. All right, you gotta come back. You gotta like and subscribe because we're on YouTube now. YouTube.com/ at build it faster at fasterpod. No, I've got a list right here. Don't give me the eyebrows. We got fasterpod.com. We got info at fasterpod.com if you want to email us for some reason. We got hold on. Fasterpod.com is our official website, okay? And we are BIF Pod on X. We are Build It Faster on TikTok. We are Build Faster Pod on YouTube. I gotta wait a little bit to fix all these, Mike. We are a series of hashed numbers and letters on Spotify. And we have a Substack, Build Faster Pod. It'll probably be blog.fasterpod.com when I'm done with it, you know? And we'll start posting like maybe the video and the transcript or something. I feel like that could be cool. You know, maybe start a newsletter situation. But so we're taking this seriously this time.
Right, exactly. So definitely go to fasterpod.com.
Fasterpod.com.
And ignore most of the rest of that for the moment. And man, that's awesome. Yeah, we got all that spun up real fast. To your point, I think
ignore all that stuff you spun up real fast. I thought you'd be happy that I built it so fast.
No, I think it is super exciting, and it is a perfect start, you know, because we are building extremely fast and iterating. No reason to wait, I don't think, you know? Like, what are you going to wait for yourself to get your branding straight? Like, dude, we did a 3-year podcast. It took that long to get your branding straight. If you wait for that, you'll never start, you know? You just got to go.
Man, okay, so hey, I thought that was a good first half of at least the first hour, and
yeah.
I thought that was a fine intro. We could continue to be excited about where this goes. I could clip this into 2 episodes if we want to just do episode 2 next. But you know, where does your heart lead you at this point? You know, we got the do it correctly part first. I think the first half of these at least got to be pretty diligent about answering the prompts we give ourselves. But do we want to continue talking about what this is? Do you want to hear any updates about instant coffee?
I think it would be fun to talk a little bit about the thing that we're building for our first, you know, episode, or part B of our first episode.
Ooh,
episode
yeah.
1, part 2.
And so what are we building? That'll be not just the pod, but like what are we building? And
yeah,
so
what are we building?
And actually, I'm remembering now. Well, I need to ask you some questions about how we should proceed, Mr. Product Manager, actually. So,
yeah, cool.
So first things first, because this is the first episode. We got to get all the who are we and what are we doing in here.
Right. I almost did a bit earlier where I was going to be like, Joe, well, I'll just do it now. I was going to be like, Joe, you know, part of the reason that I also know we'll always be building something is because Joe can't not be building something at any given time, and he can't help but tell me about it. And then when I see it, I can't help but say something about what I think about it, and then he can't help but react to that, and then before we know it, we're building something together every time I turn around. You know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's funny. I should probably build less. I'm taking the last 2 weeks of December off. Thank you very much. But so what are we building? So let me preface this just a little bit. So we introduced lean coffee into one of our previous organizations. Lean coffee, it goes something like you populate, for example, a Kanban board, to do, doing, done, right, board, with things you might want to talk about. Everyone contributes whatever they want. Everyone gets 6 little stickers, and you put the stickers on the ones you want to talk about. You can load the stickers up onto one, each of them, 2 of them. You can only put a couple stickers if you want to like be a cool director guy and like not influence it too much or whatever. You can do whatever you want with the dots, okay?
Your dots.
And then when we're done voting, the one with the most dots, we're going to talk about it for like 5 minutes. And then do we keep talking about it? Do we call it? Next card. That's lean coffee. And it enables you to bubble the most interesting stuff up to the top, you know, because you can't just be what you want to talk about. What you want to talk about has to be interesting to everybody, such that it'll get voted to the top.
Right. How many meetings have you been to where you sit there and everybody writes down all the things that they want to talk about, call it a retro, and then you try to talk about everything, but you really just talk about, you know, whatever you have time to talk about, and it's not usually the best topics. If everyone would have voted, you might have found that other topics were considered the best topics. And so this is a way to talk about those things. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, of course there are an unlimited number of applications trying to deliver this digitally, right? You got your Easy Retro, you got your Retrium, you got your, I forget the others. Doesn't matter. Lean Coffee dot black. What's Critters?
I mean,
Rich.
I know a team that does it with Figma. They create their own board in Figma and then work through it. So really, it's like
That's cool.
people figure out ways. I think it's a terrible. I think it's a very
It
uncool.
probably looks beautiful.
Yeah. It looks really pretty, but wow, what a nightmare.
Well, so anyway, I didn't want to pay for it, right? To have us, do our book club with these lean coffees, right? And so everyone in our professional network, Peopleware, is like, well, we could just build our own. We're all developers. We could do whatever we want, right? And then like no
Right.
one did it. And then I'm
Yep.
like, all right, I'm gonna do it. And then I did it, and it was like kind of rough. And then I did it, and it was a little less rough. And then I did, and it was actually pretty sweet. Cleancoffee.app. All right, still live.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was arguing with ChatGPT for a while and came up with a design that's radically different, and I think kind of unlocks a lot of interesting opportunities for enabling this to go a little further, a little better. And we are calling that instant coffee. Right? You got your clean coffee, right, where it's supposed to look nice and be simpler than the others. This one's instant coffee. It's supposed to absolutely dominate the rest of them. Even though Levi's is pretty sweet, leancoffee.black. Oh, this thing's looking pretty good. The last book club we had, Mike, I only got a couple of, it'd be nicer if the blinking was a little bigger. I didn't get any, like, have you developed in your life? This is garbage, like I was getting the last couple of times.
Yeah, I'm so sad I missed it. I know it's
Yeah,
terrible
they
time
were
of
they
year
were
for me to
throwing
do anything.
slurs at me and everything
Wow.
about it. But this time, very respectful, okay?
Right. Okay.
You know?
Congrats, dude.
Thank you. And so
I told you it was getting pretty tight. The last time I saw it, I was like, dang, this is tight. So you're probably only making
it
some
is
little
quite tight.
refinements at this
And
point.
dear listener, you might be like, well, where I want to use it. You can't. I'm not ready for you, okay? Because I don't have any of the permissions locked down. Okay, it's
Right.
wide open right now. Okay, I got like
Right.
3 different people on the boards that I'm just trusting to be respectful. Everyone can see everything, okay? It's not good. You could delete everything if you knew enough JavaScript. I'm not letting you in there just yet. Which is actually, Mike, what I wanted to bring up to you is I am interested in talking about what that looks like.
Product hunt
how
launch.
does
When do you
well,
do
not
something
necessarily
like
the
that?
product launch. I want product launch, actually, rather, but as a dependency to that, I gotta lock it down. Like
Right.
if a single bad actor gets in there, all of it's gone. The data, because it's all like hosted as a service or whatever. But so if a single bad actor gets in there and, goes behind the buttons I've made available to you, but only in certain cases, he'll just destroy everything or put a bunch of really bad stuff on there, right?
We don't want that.
We don't want that. So, what I was curious about, and I really haven't made too many changes to it. I added a little covers the whole screen countdown 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which is pretty sweet. Actually, I haven't deployed it yet. I'm adding some sorting. The archived will sort differently, and there's a couple little tweaks, like the blinking will be a little bigger. So it's very minor at this point. And so I think we're in a position, before we get too crazy, talking stick, automatic thumbs up, thumbs down to go to the next thing, mation, right? We need to lock it down. I need to make this thing safe to tell people it's a domain. And so I was just curious to talk through that with you. Does that sound like a thread you're interested in, or have I jumped the gun on what we wanted to cover for its introduction in, again, the very first episode? Welcome to Build It Faster.
Yeah, fun. I don't think it's necessary to
Unless I cut this
really.
into 2 episodes, we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think it's that necessary to talk about the product too in depth. I think you did a good job of introing it, and we did share it a little bit at the end of pattern practice if you're dying to get a peek at it. And in the meantime, that'll come really soon. I'm sure. Folks will see, get your eyes on what we're working on. But this is maybe enough for now. And I think talking about how to give people access to it is probably the right topic for now. And my mind goes straight to cost. I think, like, how do we make it accessible to people without, you having a unacceptable cost? I'm sure you've in the past never had much, you've never been very resistant to absorbing some level of cost, but what if something you were to build and release went viral? How would you handle that? And, you don't want to just, if a million people show up to use your shit, you don't want to just flop, on your first exciting viral thing. You want to have at least a plan for how to serve that. So yeah, I'd say let's talk about like our first stranger to our 1,000th, or if you want to get real crazy, millionth stranger, and what that sort of scale.
Okay. So the way it occurs to me to talk about this is in two forks, maybe three. So things that give me pause are the permissions, right? I gotta lock it down. It's not even gonna be hard. You kind of gotta make a choice, and I'll get into what those choices are, and we might arrive at the answer pretty quickly. It's not done yet. Two, the cost. Right now, and one of the things that makes this special, is I have video conferencing embedded in the website, right? We have found a way to take the traditionally Kanban 3-column stock lean coffee, and we somehow put it into a sweet single column, Mike. It's like really, really, really working, and I can't wait till someone rips it off. Okay?
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Levi already kind of ripped it off. But so...
We'll buy him out one day.
We'll buy him out.
We'll buy him out.
He's got such a good domain name. But so we'll have a better one.
It can be like the light version of our app,
Yes. So I was thinking of building a light version of our app, right? And so the video. So I only have 50 user hours a month. And so divide that by 8 when there's 8 people in the call. That can support our book club. That can support Alex's book club. If there's one more book club, I actually might run out of the free tier. Right now I'm paying $0. Okay? I'm hosting my video with LiveKit, and I'm hosting my database with InstantDB. InstantDB gives you up to 1 gigabyte of database storage, and text is like nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about that. So I'm thinking, without getting too far into it, I'm probably going to withhold the LiveKit side of things, unless you're paying me for you having more than like 4 people on the call and you need LiveKit. You gotta pay me because I gotta pay them. And so I was thinking that by default, you could have a board configured to be a free tier where you just use peer-to-peer.
Board then.
But you use peer-to-peer video. It's just that peer-to-peer video doesn't scale past like 4 users.
Oh, okay. So you can do it with up to 4 users, and then you got to pay.
Yeah, and so you can have up to 4 users or whatever your computers can take. I don't care. I might even deliberately be like, no, you can't go over 4 because like I'm not going to let you think it's a bad website just because you're cheap.
Yeah.
So I'll lock it down to like 4.
I think if you're going to do that, then you have to prioritize. You have to prioritize the video list user experience, because for anyone who's going to run a good lean coffee retro or something like that, I think a lot of those people are going to have more than 4 users. But it shouldn't be a barrier to entry for them to try your app out for free. I think they should be able to open it up, use whatever video call they always use for their retros, and use your app for the first time, taking advantage of that single column layout and the commenting features and I think that it'll be really cool, and the way that it kind of generates an artifact for them throughout the conversation I think is really valuable. So I think prioritizing a experience that doesn't have the video integrated into it could be good for your free tier. Not that you should pour a ton of energy into it, but it's like just make it look decent when the video isn't being utilized.
Decent when the video isn't being utilized. I mean, maybe we just encourage people to have the, small window mode.
Yeah.
If you don't want to turn the video on, just go to small video mode. We do need to account for people that are like 30 people. I actually do see a lot of people in businesses getting all up in this, Let's go ahead and try that. And we could either, make ephemeral boards or something like that. I think the no video approach and making it so that it can be used on the side, or it can be used as its own tab for people that are used to that kind of flow, where they tab back and forth and it's not like, no, 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 you're using it wrong. Like you never want to say that to a user, right?
Right, right, right.
But so tolerating people who want the full screen version of a videoless experience is what I'm hearing from you.
Maybe, you make me think something that I found really valuable about this.
Maybe a browser extension. Go ahead.
Well, no reason to add extra steps. Yeah, what I think is really cool about this app and the vertical layout, the single column layout, is every time I try to do, and it's whether it's a stand up or a retro, because they're both essentially using a Kanban board. I've got a screen space problem. Not if I've got, my normal big in-office home monitor setup, of course, that helps. But if I'm working from a laptop, it sucks, dude, to drive one of these meetings because I'm trying to keep a Kanban board, but I'm also trying to see faces. I like to see faces when I'm driving. It's really important to me. And so what your app is allowing me to do is I can have 2/3 or even more possibly screen video call, whether I'm using Google Meet or Slack or Microsoft Teams, whatever, pick your tool of your choice. You're in your video call, and then you use that little 1/3 or less of your screen left, and it's enough. That is what is awesome. Is I can just have that little bit of space over there, and I can drive the whole meeting and the whole conversation from that little bit of space, and it works really well. Also, if someone were, taking the call from like mobile or something like that, I think it's also really cool the way that they can follow along with the retro, way more friendly than anything else. So I think you're onto something leaning into like, look, if you're the type of user who's going to be in a video call and you're going to have this app up, it'll behave that way for you and it's nice and clean. And if you're the type of user who's going to try to jump into this app and full screen it, you want to just send everybody a link so that they can all hop into the call with you, it'll work that way as well. That's our native functionality. That's how the app is meant to work. But like you said, if you just make it small and you want it on the side of your screen, the video goes away and you don't even have to think about it. Use it with whatever video app you're using.
So I want to beware over engineering too early, but something that occurs to me, you could probably half-ass the costing if you made an audio only, but that used like little avatar squares that looked like video.
Oh, that's funny.
Maybe even like a cute little GIF or something, or like a 3JS. You could like move the avatars around a little bit. That could be cute because then you're not sending 1080p. Oh man, you could totally use the camera to do like position tracking. Anyway, there's actually a whole thing about compressing video down to like by 99% by taking just a still frame, sending the still frame one time, and then taking position data, and then on the client side doing pose reconstruction. So you're just sending
literally just moving the
positional
still
data,
frame.
and so you're puppeteering the still frame on their side, but it's not sending like pixels over the internet.
That's fun.
So there's a lot of clever stuff we could do that we should do. None of what I just said before launch, but there are options there, and I do need to answer for them because right now, if it got exciting, I would just be effed until I've found a way to deliver this scalable free version. We should give them a barely works free version that does work, rather than a full version that's going to explode the second they get to it, especially before I can, find a way to put a dollar sign in front of it so that it scales on its own or something. I'm not even necessarily looking to make a bunch of money on this, though that would be lovely. How do you even make it not break? I can't host it if I'm paying you to use it. No, I'm not doing that.
You might want to consider tracking and watching who is using what version of the app. That way,
Yes.
Because if 99% of your users are using it without video, then why burn yourself out working on the video stuff? You can just open the app up with whatever video app it is you or your team are using. I mean, I feel like there are enough free options. I mean, you could FaceTime, you could use Messenger. I mean, there's so many different options for doing a video call, and being able to sidecar it with this is great. But if you find that people just love to just share a link and people can hop in the call, it's just real easy. It's peer-to-peer. Maybe you spend a lot more effort on it because you see that the users prefer that experience.
Data is the word I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And this is a great example, I think, of why it's going to be worth following this adventure for us. Is like, oh right, data. How do you track what people are using? Because you should
Big
track
time.
what they're using. I'm thinking like,
Heck
oh
yeah.
man, I should have a record of the widths that they do. I should have a record of like where they're clicking, how fast they're going. I already have what they're typing. I have the database. It's not like encrypted. Although if someone asks for it, I'll find a way to make it so I can't even see your data. Okay. I'll do it. Okay. If you want to pay for it, either have it to
Sure.
be ephemeral and browser to browser or encrypted on my server. But data is an interesting point that I don't have an answer for, and that we should get some kind of basic something together before launch. I haven't even thought about launch. What does that even look like? Oh
I
man.
know, fun.
But so I got to lock down the permissions, which I might even make the next topic for the last little bit here because I do want to be unblocked, at least emotionally. Scaling the infrastructure deliverable. And then I swear there was a third one, but at the very least it can be observability. So unless you had another thread you were dying to pull, I would like to talk about the user experience in a locked down instant coffee. Locked down meaning like you can't delete my board. That's all I'm talking about. Not like paywall. I'm not even talking about money yet.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Me free tier, SU free tier. Okay, but as soon as that's getting exhausted, you're paying me. All right,
Yeah.
or someone's paying me, and then I'll subsidize you free user. But so the way it works in clean coffee that I thought was pretty clever is that I uh made I made it so that no one is allowed to list the boards. You cannot submit the list board event or operation to Supabase. What you can do is visit a slash board slash a very, very long set of numbers and letters you couldn't possibly guess. Okay? You're not going to guess it. And so that's kind of its own, password, right? The name of the ID of the board is kind of its password. And so if you're able to reach that point, then I give you the permission to join the board. You then, on your profile that no one can read but you, have a list of subscriptions to boards. And then when you go to the website, here's all your boards. Click, you're already subbed, you're in the board, and you can F with the board however you please. You can't delete it, but you can F with the board and you can unsubscribe. So that's how it worked before. The idea being, if I want to invite you to my board, I'll just give you the link. And then you visit it, you go, oh, you're not in this board yet. Sure I am. Pin or subscribe or add to the list of stuff
Okay.
I've chosen to record somewhere and double dip
So that's
as my
all.
bookmarks.
Joining the board just adds it to your board library, basically. Okay.
Yes. And so that's how I'm tracking if you're allowed to use it. And that's how I allow you to go see what it is that you have access to. I think that's a fine model. I think as long as I don't let you delete the board, editing cards seems fine. Deleting cards seems fine. I don't think you get any griefers because you can't because it's all UUIDs. And as long as I disallow listing and only allow viewing, I should be able to follow that same model. That's my thinking anyway. So you can create boards, you can link them to people, clean coffee.
You can't click or block, or you can't kick or block, I'd imagine. So if somebody knows your URL and they are a griefer, and you're like, "Wow, we never should have invited this guy," now there's no. You've got a meeting Maradona him if you want to get out of there.
You could block. That's interesting. You would have to meeting Maradona. Do you want to briefly touch on meeting Maradona? You want to define that pattern here in the 5 minutes or no?
It just means make a new meeting and don't invite the harsh person or whatever. But
yeah, you don't have to kick someone if you
length.
make a new one. That's just a new meeting they weren't invited to. They can keep going to the old one. I'm not. I like that. Kick is new board UUID. I'll do like a board clone and then shift all the items over to it. Might be interesting. I don't know if I'm worried
Crazy.
about that.
So if you kick one person, it changes the locks. Basically, it's like I kicked a person, updates the UUID, and on everybody's subscription, the UUID changes as well.
Yeah, and
Okay.
there's some weird stuff
Interesting.
I gotta do because I'm using a public database where I have to like use clever conditions to disallow certain activities like oh like if you own the board you can do this and if you can see the board you can join the board if there's a board. That alone might have just unblocked me. I just do it just like clean coffee. You get the board, it's got like maybe a QR code or something, and you can just either, if you're out and about and you're just on mobile because you're cool like that, you can just click the show QR code and people can boop in,
Yeah.
and then at work, you would just share the URL, share the join URL, separate join flow, but I probably will just clone the way I did clean coffee.
I
Um,
mean, you could have like a change the locks feature if that mattered or something, where you click a button, it changes the UUID, it updates it for everybody. Like it could give you a list and be like, here are all of your users. Who do you want to update? And you can uncheck the people that you don't want to update, or you can deselect all, select all, and just
I
change
love
the
that.
locks.
I
Um,
love that. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's clever.
yeah.
Okay. I think change the locks is something I would introduce after one person cares.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't. I'm more so. I guess I'm not sure what problem, if any, specific problem you're trying to solve, other than like the problem. I guess is that anybody who has access to the board has almost admin access, and that they can do anything but delete the board. Is that the problem?
I don't have a problem. My problem was I wanted to make sure that when I presented to you my minimal, I'm going to do it like clean coffee, you didn't go, well, you know what I hated about that is blah, blah, blah. You haven't. I have no problem. There are other problems we might run into, such as how do you kick somebody when the means by which you arrive at a board is by knowing its UUID, meeting Maradona, change the locks. Check. We'll have that in our back pocket when we care.
Yeah. Do you
Do
have
you
an
and
ID?
you could have board settings where if not admin and board, mode equals not cool. Don't let people delete anyone else's card. Like there are things we can do like that, but I'm not going to bother till someone cares.
Well, what is every user has an ID as well? Is that true?
Every user has an ID.
Okay. So if I wanted to, you could make it so that, okay, so every user visits the board. All you have to know is the UUID to visit the board. The board has an admin user ID who has God mode, and then or admin privileges, you have God mode. But so the admin has admin privileges, and then the admin can, I guess we'll say, yeah, assign moderator privileges to user IDs. And so you'd have an admin user ID, any like 0 to N moderator user IDs who all have the moderator permissions, and then everybody else has, create and edit their own card permissions basically, and vote permissions. I guess that's it. So
Okay.
you have 3 tiers. You have admin, moderator, and your user tier. And I really think that gets you pretty much where you need to be. And the reason I would want to designate some moderator user IDs is if you have something like book club, where you have a recurring book club, I want somebody to be able to run it if I'm not there. If I'm the admin, like let's say you're by default the admin of the book club, and you can't make it, which happens. I don't want us to be like, well, we have to use another app because Joe's not here this week to click the buttons. So you have to have, and in book
That's why
club, you
we
probably
built this
just
in the
make
first
everybody
place. Yeah.
moderator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in a
You can
team
probably have
retro, it
board
might be like,
modes that are like open versus moderated,
sure.
or
Well, to me, that's the other option. To me, there's 2 options. You either make 3 tiers of permissions, or you have boards that are open or closed boards. So if it's a closed board, only the admin can do stuff, or if it's an open board, anybody can do stuff, which would solve the book club case. But I don't know if it solves an engineering team's retro case, because it's like, oh, the 1 week that like the team lead or the PM or whatever isn't there to drive,
yeah, yeah. I think
but
open.
it's
I
a
think
closed
open by
board because they don't want
default. I
everyone
think
to
I
mess with
think
it.
launch. I don't think we need closed by launch.
Yeah.
But this has given me enough direction to where I need observability. I need to lock it down in the way that's been transcribed, which I'm just going to hand off to Codex. Thank you, transcription, which again is its own topic for building it faster. I got to give my transcription rant on another episode, and then finally getting a handle on the no video mode, I think is going to be critical. By default, just no one can have it. I'm not ready, and I don't want to wait till I'm ready until people are asking for it, you know?
Yeah. I think I got this, bro. I think I have the analogy, and you know what? I don't think you should go too hard on trying to lock down permission. And the reason is if our beachhead is lean coffee users and not, what we talked about during some more visionary exploration with like, I don't know, crazy debate conversations that are publicly public. Sure.
Public antagonistic debate.
Sure. Which again, I'm excited.
I still want to maybe check
for that future. Right. I'm still excited for that future. But for our current beachhead of these users, I don't think that permission matters a lot. And here's why. If we're doing an in-person lean coffee, right? I see the time. If I am doing a in-person lean coffee, yeah, anybody in the room can get up and wipe all the fucking cards off the board. They could take like a marker and write on the board. Like you could do that, but like don't invite an asshole like that. They're not going to be there. That person's not going to be there. We all have the ability, but it's not going to happen. I think as long as your app has like are you really super sure on any destructive button, I think you're pretty safe, honestly. I just don't want somebody to go up and try to like take the cap off of a pen and wipe the board on accident by doing that. Because like, fuck, I thought I was taking the cap off. I didn't realize that I was hitting but as long as you have that kind of like that confirmation step on any of the destructive buttons, I honestly think you can pretty much let anybody do anything on the board for now. Like you said, until somebody's like begging with good reason for something more restrictive, I think you're good, man.
And that is how you build it faster. See you next time.